I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 335. Welcome to Thinner Peace and Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. Who are you today? I have so much to talk about today. I don't even know where to start. But I do have a few notes, which is uncommon for me because I usually don't write notes. But there are some things that I wanted to make sure that I told you. Now, I've got two things. Well, actually, three things going on that I want to talk to you about. First of all, I have a brand new website that I have been working on for, I'm going to say about a year, and it's almost ready to go live. I'm very, very excited about it. I also have updated my Thinner Peace process and my Thinner Peace process book that I use with all my individual clients and all my group clients. From all the experience that I've had over the last 5 or 10 years, I've changed some things, I've updated some things, and I've been working on that probably for about 6 months, and that is just about ready to be finished. Very, very exciting. And on top of that, I am also in the midst of creating a new course, which I have been doing for the last 6 to 9 months also. I've been a very busy little beaver trying to figure out how I can help you more. So, this is what I want you to be thinking about right now because I got a lot of stuff getting ready to come out. And what I want you to be thinking about is what I'm going to be offering. And if this is something that's going to light you up and help you make this the last time that you ever have to lose weight again. So I have created a wait list right now because if this is something that you want to do, then I want to make sure that you're the first to hear about it, the first to be able to sign up for it, the first to get the best price on it. So, where you go to find out about this new course that I'm unveiling that I've been working on for a while is you're going to go to drdebbutler.com/new. And this will be in my show notes so that you can get on the wait list and hear everything. But I want to tell you that it's going to be different than my individual coaching program. It's going to be different than the group programs that I've done in the past. And it's going to be a little bit more something that you will be able to either work with me or work on your own or a little bit of both. It's called All About Doing It Your Own Way. And really, this has been something that I have wanted to create, but it meant a lot of work on my end to be able to help you get more of what I do without actually being in my presence. And I think I've done it. I'm very excited about it. And my son, BJ, who is my COO of my company, has been in it every step of the way. And I don't know who's more excited, I am or he is, but I hope it's going to end up being you are going to be the most excited. So if this is something that's tweaking your interests, and maybe this is something, maybe you wanted to work with me, maybe you wanted to get more of the information than you already get on my podcast, but maybe individual coaching wasn't what you wanted either because of the price or because maybe you didn't want that much attention. I don't know. But I think that this new course that I'm coming up with, which is my new revised Thinner Peace program on top of it, is going to be unveiled very, very soon. So go to drdebbutler.com/new if you want to be on this wait list. Okay. So that being said, what I want to talk about today is a letter that I received from one of my podcast listeners. And Really, I think that it has so many elements in it that you will relate to that I thought I would just read the letter on this podcast and answer her letter on this podcast because it's probably not going to be what she's asking for. And I'll tell you, you'll understand why when you hear the letter. But I think underneath of it is where all the coaching is. She didn't really ask me for coaching, but I think she needs it. And so I'm going to give it to her on this podcast. I'm not going to mention her name, but I am going to read her letter. And whatever it is that you relate to, even if it's not you, if there's a part of this that you relate to, it's like I'll be talking to you too. Okay, so here's what she wrote. She let me know in the beginning, "Hi, Dr. Dev. I'm not working with you, but I've been listening to your podcasts and I'm up to 114." That's 114 podcasts, and I've got like 300. So she's doing pretty good. So I'm hoping you won't mind answering a question for me. And I'm just letting all of you know is that you can write me letters and ask me questions, and I'll either answer them or I'll answer them on the podcast just like this. And also, I'm going to come up with something new where you can actually voicemail me a question and I can play it on my podcast and answer it on my podcast. But for now, let me just finish reading her letter. So she says a little about me. I'm about to turn 65 next May. I was 330 pounds at my heaviest and started Weight Watchers January 2020 at 297 pounds. And by May of 2021, I got down to 135 pounds and kept between 135 and 138 for quite a while. I also was treated for hormonal issues December of 2019, which I believe I have been fighting with most of my life. Now, this spring and summer, I have gone up to 170 pounds, and that scares me. As I said, I have been listening to your podcast, but not implementing the work. I decided 2 weeks ago that at my age, my health is a priority and am slowly getting down. I am at 165 now. One thing you talked about was flour and sugar. I had already cut out white flour and added sugar to my diet, and now I'm eating grains like barley, quinoa, and oats instead of bread, etc. So I'm wondering about the sugar part. When you cut out sugar, is that added sugar or is it all sugar? What do I need to cut out fruit? I ate lots of fruit during my whole weight loss journey, and it didn't impede my weight loss. But I really want to make lasting changes that will keep me healthy. Thank you so much for your podcast and all your wonderful advice. I'm finally living my life like I haven't been able to since my early 20s, and I don't want to lose that. Okay, so there's a lot in this letter. Now, the question that she's asking me is I talk about in some of my podcasts that I do a no flour, no sugar experiment with my clients. I do not recommend to my clients that they take it out of their diet. I just want to be really clear about that. And she hasn't listened to all my podcasts, but it's interesting that she gave me her whole story, but only asked me one question, which is, should I eat fruit or not? Is that considered sugar? And what I would say about that is that's the least of her problems because I think she already knows the answer to that. And I'm not sure that I would even want to answer that because when I do the no flour, no sugar experiment with my clients, it's always working with me. I do not recommend that you do this experiment on your own, or it's going to feel a lot more like a diet and restricting and depriving. And that's exactly what I don't want to happen. And that's why I call it an experiment. So, for that question, I'm going to say that I think she already gave us the answer. And since my program is really not, my process really is not as much about what you're eating as to what you're thinking. So, what I want to attend to today is the thoughts that I heard in this letter and how she can deal with what's going on in her mind to get her on track to what she wants. Because listen, this woman lost a lot of weight doing a specific diet, Weight Watchers. I'm very familiar with it. And I'm not even sure why wouldn't she just keep doing that? So that would be my first question is why aren't you just doing that? If that's what got you to where you wanted. But here's my second question. And questions when I'm coaching, are very, very important. So when you hear me asking these questions, you answer them for yourself because that's how you're going to get your answers. And to this woman who sent me this letter, it's the same thing. You need to answer these questions that I'm asking you. It's not really about should you eat fruit or not. The real question is you are afraid, and that fear is getting in the way of what you need to do. And that is where the coaching comes in. Is why are you so afraid? You've done this. What happened? Question number one is how did you gain 35 pounds back? What were you doing? Now, I imagine that what she was doing is not what she was doing that helped her take the weight off. But my guess is that something happened in her life circumstantially that created a different way of thinking. And that is what I would like her to look at very, very closely is what were you thinking when you started gaining all this weight back? Now, here's the thing that happens when you lose a lot of weight. Sometimes your brain will go, it's a party, or I've done this long enough. I should be able to do this, or I should be able to do that. Or you start feeling restricted or deprived. And you think that eating actually becomes a reward for all of that weight loss. Now, if I were coaching her or if I'm coaching you, the worst thing that can happen in your mind is for you to think something that makes you feel afraid. Because when you feel afraid, that feeling, it will activate actions that will not serve you. Usually, when you get scared or you start scaring yourself, and I think she's doing a little bit of both because she's saying, well, I'm 65 years old and my health is now, it should be my priority. And I have told you many, many times on this podcast that usually health by itself is not a compelling reason. Now, there are very specific circumstances where it actually can be, but for most of you, it is not. And I'm thinking for her, it's not. I think that she's thinking that she's 65. I think that she's going to be 65. I think that she's getting afraid of getting older and not being able to control what she puts in her mouth. And it's a trust issue and it's a safety issue within yourself. And I think that this happening to her is a process that she needs to come to terms with because if she can figure this out, she won't be afraid anymore and she'll be able to trust herself more than ever. So, should she eat fruit or not is not the question. What should she think and what does she want to believe going forward about all the weight that she lost? And what does she think going forward about what she wants to think about this weight gain? And once she can figure out what she did, why she gained the weight, we know that there's going to be specific actions that she started doing that she wasn't doing before. And I think you who wrote this letter need to know exactly what that was and why you were doing it. Were you doing it out of reward? Were you doing it out of fear because you started scaring yourself that when you started gaining weight, that maybe you wouldn't be able to trust yourself anymore? Maybe you don't know what to do. And the fear created more negative emotion. And with the negative emotion, you started filling it with food again. Is that a possibility? Or did something happen? I can't tell you how many times when I work with clients or I take new clients on, that one of the things that they'll say to me is, my weight was fine. And then they'll talk about something happening. Like, for instance, the pandemic. That's a good one, right? But the pandemic itself didn't do anything until they thought something about it. So, where I would go with this and my answer as specifically as possible to this letter is, why are you afraid? Because creating fear to lose weight doesn't work. Those of you who are trying to scare yourself thin will not lose weight and will not keep it off permanently. There is no way. You can't make this the last time when you're afraid. Usually, fear is from thinking two things: either you can't control yourself around food or you can't trust yourself around food. And if those are your thoughts, those are the thoughts that you need to work with till you can ladder up to the thought that you know you can control yourself around food and that you can trust yourself around food. When I'm working with clients, that's the most important thing to get to that belief system. And that takes a lot of work. Right now, this podcast listener that wrote this letter can't go to probably, I can trust myself. But if she knows that right now she doesn't believe she can trust herself anymore or that she can't control herself around food, then maybe a laddering up thought, like an in between thought, might be it's possible I can trust myself around food again. Because something was going on during the weight loss process when she lost all that weight. But, sometimes when we're following a program, and there's nothing wrong with Weight Watchers, it's a healthy program, but you have to believe that you can eat whatever you want. In the end, I don't care if you eat fruit or not. What I care about is that you know that if you eat something that is considered a joy food, that you can mindfully eat it and stop when you're done. You can eat foods that are non nutritious for you and still lose weight, maintain weight, and keep your weight off. But when you believe you can't have something ever again, and it makes you feel restricted or deprived, I promise you that's going to end up in your mouth, and it's going to end up in your mouth not in a mindful way. It's going to be a binge or a storm or a fog because you don't have the belief system that you can eat it. So, in order for you to eat something that you think you can't have, it's almost like you have to sneak around your back. And I'm telling you, you have to be able to eat whatever, believe that you can eat whatever you want. And I really believe in the Weight Watchers process itself. I think they make room for that. In fact, there's a lot of things for those of you who have been on any kind of diet before, including Weight Watchers. I want you to believe, just like this woman that wrote me, there's a lot of good things that she has learned from this, I am sure, that she will take with her. But if she's listening to this podcast, she's looking for something a little bit different. And what I would say to her is the most important thing that you can do right now is eat mostly fuel food, whatever you believe fuel food is for you. And she was kind of telling me some of the foods that she eats. I personally don't care what she eats, but I want you to believe that you eat mostly fuel food and you know how to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. And for her to believe that she can trust herself around food and she can control herself around food, that would really be a helpful thing to do, is to eat mostly fuel food, eat when you're hungry at a -2, and stop at a +2. And the other thing that I want to say about my no flour, no sugar experiment that is within my thinner piece process, I really don't recommend that you use that on your own. The reason it's so successful with my clients is because I use it with a lot of coaching, because a lot of things come up in coaching from this. And in the end, it has to be a choice if that's what you want to do, that's not what you want to do, or what you learned from doing it that will help you in the end. Okay, guys, I hope this was helpful for you. And the podcast writer, listener that wrote this, I'm pretty sure you know who you are. And I hope that this was helpful for you. And I am wanting to say to you, number one, good job for what you did. And now, part of this process, the way that you're going to keep this weight off for the rest of your life is learn what happened here and why you gained that 35 pounds. And if you can get back to the belief that you can trust yourself and that you can eat anything you want and that you are the one that controls food, this will be the last time. And you can lose that 35 pounds with that belief system. And you can incorporate what you've done and you can incorporate some of the new things that I use in my thinner piece process. They can go together. It's not either or. So I hope that helps. And also for all of you who are listening to this, don't forget something new, something big is coming out soon. And if you want to be the first to hear what goes on when I get this thing released, go to drdebbutler.com/new and you can be the first. And as always, before I end this podcast, you know what I'm going to say. And of course, I would say it to this writer and listener that wrote me this is whatever else you do and wherever else you go, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye. If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.